We are live. Let's go.
So Kumar asked me to tell a little bit about the NFRW. So we are the National Federation of Republican Women. We are the largest women's Republican organization, grassroots based in the country. We work tirelessly. Every election cycle to get great Republicans elected. We typically put in 14 million volunteer hours between all 50 states. And we have a membership of tens of thousands, about 70,000 members all over the United States. So we are quite the powerhouse when it comes to elections. And we really work ourselves to the bone to get Republicans elected and to push the Republican policies forward. So that's a little bit about NFRW. I'm the political director, so my job is to work on our relationships with legislators and the states themselves, the women in the states, and create that bond so we can all work together towards our goal of Republican policies.
I mean, I've seen your LinkedIn profile, pretty impressive. You went to Harvard, you went to University of Arkansas,
yeah,
and you've been involved in the political side for quite a while, so which is really good, really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So my question to you about the upcoming elections. Now that the Democratic side has announced its potential candidate for presidency, how do you see this new development from their side? How do you personally see this?
Well, their theme has been democracy is on the ballot, which is very ironic now that the candidate that Democrats voted for the Democrat ticket has removed himself. They are going to have a candidate that probably nobody voted for. Maybe they voted for Kamala, but whoever Kamala has as VP, they have no say in, and that to me is not democracy. And they're going to go into their convention and they're going to nominate Kamala and whoever the Democrat elite decides should be the VP. And I think that's the opposite of democracy. So Kamala is definitely beatable. She has no record to run on, and she's done nothing with immigration, especially for the Indo-Americans. So we have no issues with the change other than they're hypocrites, just like we already knew they were. And democracy is definitely on the ballot, but in the opposite way as they are putting it out to the people.
Okay. That's a fair assessment. The thing is, with the way the elections are going to be, I don't want to say conducted, more the way the campaign is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. I don't want to use any word called mudslinging because that's generally negative. But there's going to be a lot of back and forth from the on both sides. Given that Mr. Trump has already, I would be bold enough to say Mr. Trump has already won the election, and ironically, it stems from the shooting. So what is your assessment of the impact the shooting had? I mean, look, it's never a nice thing. It's never a good thing to be shot at. Never. We're all fortunate that he escaped relatively unhurt. Relatively. That being said, the political mileage that Mr. Trump might get from this, what do you think?
So I was at the RNC last week, and I had the pleasure of hearing him go through the shooting play-by-play from his perspective. And he said he was only going to do that once because it was too painful to say it again. But what we're hearing from all of even the Democrat pundits on TV is that he just won the election. And I think really that stems from, how the American people view this as the division and the mudslinging and the hate has gotten so bad that it has now gone to the fact where they just want to take him out. And, President Biden was caught saying to donors that it's time to put Trump in the bullseye several days before this happened. If that had been the other way around, he would have been indicted already. Trump had said that about Biden,
most
and
definitely,
Biden got shot in the ear, or tried to assassinate him. Trump would have been indicted for that, and there has been hardly any backlash against Biden for saying that. There's something to come out a little bit, but I think what the American people saw was that, Trump has every right to run as a candidate for president as Biden or anyone else. And the fact that the Democrats don't like what he has to say and that his agenda directly goes against their agenda, and that he is very, pro opportunity and an equal opportunity employer, so to speak. They don't like that. And they don't like it so much that, they put out this hateful rhetoric. I'm not saying they were directly responsible. We have no evidence for that yet. Hopefully they get to the bottom of the shooter's intent and if he acted alone, which is rarely the case. But, I think the bottom line is the American people have seen this escalate to the point where I think they feel like their rights are at stake, their voice and their dreams are at stake. And if it doesn't align with the Democrat Party, their life could be on the line. And, Trump speaks for the people quite a bit more than the Democrats do. And the fact that his life has been at risk from day one, since he came down the escalator. It wasn't just recently. There's been other attacks on his life, maybe not even from a death perspective, but they want him in jail. They want him put away. They don't want him to have a voice at all. And that's not America. That is not what we stand for. The American dream is that anybody who works hard can go out and chase their dreams and be whoever they want to be. And to think that, someone could try to take that away from you by taking your life. And the fact that the American people overwhelmingly love Donald Trump. He's winning in a lot of the polls and they see him as a direct threat. And, their rhetoric
isn't that understandable? The fact that they find him as a direct threat, the Democrats find him as a direct threat, is understandable because he possibly is the one person in, I hate to say in the country, but at this point in the political arena, he's probably the one person that could take a lot away from them in connection with the presidency itself, plus the political credibility that the Democrats supposedly had. And I use the word supposedly because I used to be a Democrat myself, just to let you know. I used to be a Democrat, but over a period of time, I've understood that this has become more of a I don't want to use something that could, come back and bite me in the what, but it's become more of a comedy show.
Yeah.
Every day you find someone new talking.
And they've tried to attack him or get him out in every way they can possibly think of.
Absolutely.
All the indictments, none of that worked. It didn't lose any oomph or votes for him. It increased his popularity because it's become very obvious that they have nothing on him. They can't put him in jail. They can't do it. I mean, really, the only option they had left was to put him in the bullseye, right? And they did that. And unfortunately for them, fortunately for us, that didn't work. And everybody, I mean, the American people, we're not going to fall for that. I mean, people in America are not as ignorant as the Democrats would like to believe. And everyone can see through it now. And as much as I hate that he wasn't successful, we'll say it that way, in 2020, I think it was very, very good for everyone to see what the Democrat policies will do to Americans and do to
Absolutely. I was
immigrants in
just
this
going to say
country.
that. I was just going to
And
say that.
and they can't stand on their own merits. They can't stand on their own policies. The only thing they can do is try to take him down and throw, as much mud on him as they can. And that's not working because it's not true. They're not sincere in what they're saying, and their hate comes across as sincere, but that's about it. And it's not doing anything positive for America or the American dream or any of our industries. I mean, people are suffering. 65% of Americans right now are living paycheck to paycheck. And I know that's not always, the an issue in the Indian American community, but
Oh no, it's
these
an
policies
issue.
are hurting us.
I think it's an issue everywhere. It's not just, you can't not in, you cannot in, you can't not include the Indian
Right.
American population. I'm sure majority of us are living paycheck to paycheck. The problem is the economic policies that the Democrats came up with was, or should I say, they didn't have an economic policy.
No. They want to give everything away for free, and unfortunately that has a negative impact later on.
Absolutely.
And they've destroyed the American dream. They've destroyed the dream of legal immigration. They've really devalued legal immigration and those who have immigrated here the correct way. And President Trump has put a lot of emphasis on trying to make that positive experience and streamlining it so it doesn't take 20 years to become a legal immigrant. And giving he's promised green cards to all of the international students that graduate from a U.S. university, and trying to keep those very passionate, hardworking immigrants in the U.S. and get them on the path to legal immigration. And I think that's huge. And we need that. And with the open border policy that we have, I can't emphasize enough how much the Biden administration has devalued immigration in this country.
I don't want to get into that because that is
Okay.
something that's something that gets my blood pressure high.
Okay. No worries. We've got plenty to talk about.
But you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right when you say that the open border policy is really killing, because at this point in time, I was just looking up the statistics. It's about 42% of the American population is against any more immigration. And so that, which leads me to the question that you just said, this 42% people that are against any kind of immigration going forward. How does that play into President Trump's green card promise to all those people that graduate with good grades in college? I mean, I understand, he's trying to keep the talent within the U.S. I get that. And I would agree with him on that, in that regard. But having said that, we have a lot of, see, Nikki, I understand I'm representing the Indian American population, but my bigger concern is the population within the United States. How do I put this without being politically incorrect? Oh, well, I'm going to say it. The population that was born here, they went to college. Some did, some didn't. And when they start seeing the immigrant coming in and then getting a green card and becoming the CEO of some big organization, it kind of demotivates them in many ways. And because I faced this myself, where I was told to go back to my own country. Unfortunately, this is my country. But they didn't get that. They wanted me to go back to my own country because I was making nearly 3 times the money they were making. what they didn't understand was that they lacked the education that I got. It's very difficult explaining it to people that don't understand economics, that don't understand how the world works. How would you explain to the people, um, these types of people, why the immigrant population is getting a green card based on their grades when I didn't have the money to go to college?
Well, that's not the only thing that he's focused on as far as that. The Republican Party and Trump and our values, as far as that goes, is that it's equal opportunity, not equal outcome, like the Democrats want. So if somebody comes here and they work hard and they're passionate and they want to make a life here and they want the American dream, we want everyone to have the opportunity to get that. The Democrats want to focus on, like everybody has equal
Handouts.
outcome, like, and handouts, and that is not what America was built on. That's not what the majority of Americans believe in. So while giving immigrants that graduate from a U.S. university a green card is one policy, it's not the only policy. We want equal opportunity for everyone, and if you want to come here, if you were born here, no matter who you are, if you are here, we want equal opportunity to have the American dream. Period. I think there's obviously going to be some good policies, some bad policies, some things we need to work on, but equal opportunity, everyone having the same opportunity is what we are really, really striving for. And we're terrible about getting that message out. I will be the first to admit it. Republicans are terrible about messaging. Democrats are fantastic at it, but they can't follow through. And their radicalism is definitely shown quite a bit over the last several years out of their desperation to try to keep voters. But it's equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And that's the best answer I can give you for that. As far as specific policies go.
Basically what you're saying is there's no sense of, there should not be a sense of entitlement. Just because I'm born here does not mean I'm entitled to a good life, as long as I work for it.
But
right.
I think a lot of people have forgotten, but President Trump was very supportive of the lawsuits against Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, where they were discriminating against Asians, Indians, Koreans, and requiring that they have a higher score than, say, Black Americans. And he was very supportive of that. And I think that is the core of the issue there, is that, Black Americans shouldn't have, they're just as capable as anyone else. Why would they need a lower score to get in? Why would Asian, Indian, Korean Americans need to have a higher score to get in? And that's not equal opportunity. That's trying to get equal outcome in a very, very discriminatory way. So equal opportunity and not equal outcome.
So now moving to a question that I was told to ask by my wife. So okay. if you get offended, blame my wife for it.
No.
Because she's a big Trump fan, going on, all the way through.
Good.
But the question is, and she, specifically said you should ask this question. She's a teacher herself, a high school teacher. Okay. And at this point in time, the profession of the educator's profession is suffering pretty badly, not just because of the privatization of schools. She's a public school teacher. She's more concerned about the quality of teachers that are coming out. How does the president plan to address that? Or what do you think the president should do to address that?
So I think, and he's talked about it a little bit, government running education has really run it into the ground, in my opinion, and from what I've heard President Trump speak about. Education was designed, the education system that we have right now was designed in the 60s. It was designed to create good workers from 8 to 5. You get in line, you do what you're told. You don't you don't have a lot of freedom. It teaches you to, which in some ways is good, but in other ways it is bad. It is the one of the industries that has not evolved with the rest of the world. And we really need to focus on, and what President Trump has talked about is all of the different facets of education and normalizing homeschool or different types of education. In public school should also be an excellent option for families. And it's, I live here in Washington, D.C., and the public education system is absolutely horrendous, and we homeschool our kids. And so I think taking the government, or the federal government anyways, out of the education system would do tremendous things. And I know that scares a lot of people because they worry about the funding and whatnot, but funding is rarely the issue. And that's a Democrat talking point is, oh, we need to fund education. Education is pretty well funded, but how they spend the funds is where the failures are. They don't, there's lots of, at Harvard, when I was at Harvard, we did a study on how they took families from underprivileged areas and put them in very high privileged schools, and they had the same issues. And a lot of the females wanted to stay and better themselves, and the males went back to the ways that they were when they were in their underprivileged areas. And so I think the whole education system needs to be looked at and revamped and moved along with where we are. People aren't going to jobs as much 8 to 5. That's not really the structure, especially after COVID. So many things are online. People are working remotely. Education, is so much different now. You have all the knowledge you could ever need at your fingertips. And so we need to relook at it. And Elon Musk is a great example. He has created this entire homeschool program that's just totally different than what a public school is doing now. And so I think we need to personalize education for everyone and have as many options for everybody as possible, because just like, in colleges, equal opportunity is very different than equal outcome. And right now, the system that we have in place, even with public education, or mostly with public education, is that it's equal outcome. Everybody goes from kindergarten to their senior year, and you graduate, and then you go to college. And that path is not always conducive to everybody and their dreams and what they want to do. And so I think it needs to evolve along with everything else. And we've talked about getting rid of the Department of Education and sending that directly to the states. And in a lot of ways, I support that. And I think that would be great, because when you have the federal government's hands in it, you lose a lot of that personal touch to the state or the industries in that state. And I think we need to focus more on skills instead of the equal outcome of everybody's education, because we're not all made equal. We all have different skill sets and different interests. And when you put someone in something that they're interested in, it's amazing what they can do. And I think we've held a lot of people back in the United States in the education system that we have, just because we want equal outcome and not equal opportunity, and letting people thrive and really dig into what they want to do. Because when people are passionate about their job, it's amazing what they create and what they innovate. And I think we need to really dig into that and revamp the system. I hope that answers the question. I got on a little tangent, but I'm pretty passionate about that. I was very instrumental in passing school choice in Arkansas with Governor Sanders, and what has happened there has been really incredible, and we benefit from that as well.
Well, I could ask you a few more questions on this, but I do know we have limited time to talk. Okay. Somebody texted me a question, and this is a ridiculous question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go for it.
President Trump and Prime Minister Modi have a pretty good relationship. Mm-hmm. And I'm being modest when I say pretty good. They're close friends, it looks like.
Yes.
How does President Trump, if he gets reelected, how does he plan? How do you think he should be viewing the Indo-American relationship? Because it looks very strained right now, specifically, or especially because of Prime Minister Modi having visited Moscow. Um, so it looks like the Biden administration is not very thrilled about him having gone to Moscow. So, and I'm not even going to get into the politics behind that because I'm going to let you handle that. But how do you think President Trump should be handling this?
President Trump has pretty good relationship with a lot of world leaders, Putin being one of them. And whenever the Democrats really go hard after another world leader, that makes me scratch my head a little bit. Why? I'm not saying that Putin is a great person, but I think being able to have conversations and meet is crucial to world peace, resolving any issues. So Modi going over to speak to him and maybe trying to help resolve this conflict with Ukraine. I mean, what's wrong with that? You have to be able to come to the table. And I think that's the biggest issue that Democrats have is if they disagree with somebody or their motives are somewhere else, they refuse to come to the table and have those conversations. And nothing moves forward that way. We can't sustain this war with Russia and Ukraine at the same time as Israel and Hamas. I mean, and Palestine. We can't sustain that for very long. So having the ability to set your ego aside and come to the table and have these conversations, that's what's good for the people. And when the Democrats totally shut that door, that always gives me, a little inclination that they have some ulterior motives with the wars that are going on and whatnot. So President Trump has always been open to meeting with Putin and having at least a line of communication open, because how do you solve anything if you can't talk about it? So, I think, as President Trump has said, he will end the Ukraine Russia war on day one, and possibly before that, he said. And I tend to believe him when he says that, because he does have a pretty good relationship with Putin, whether, people want to like that or not. I mean, it's crucial for the world leaders to discuss what's going on and possible resolutions to these problems, because financially and really, I mean, we can't sustain this any longer. Ukraine is in a bad way. And I think, President Trump talked to Zelensky the other day. I'm not sure what they talked about, but the lines of communication have to be open. And for anyone to criticize that is very naive, in my opinion. We need our world leaders talking to each other. So I think Trump would be very open to Modi talking to Putin. And I haven't heard him, his opinion on it specifically, but we have to talk to each other. That's the biggest issue that I see with the Democrats is the lack of communication with those they disagree with.
Okay. J.D. Vance is, well, most Indians are thrilled because J.D. Vance, his wife is of Indian origin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm more thrilled because I grew up in Ohio. So, he being from Ohio really kind of makes me feel back at home. So, J.D. Vance, can you fill us in a little bit about J.D. Vance's policies towards, and I hate saying this, but towards Indian American? Is that going to be relaxed? Because a lot of people, I'm looking at some of the news outlets overseas, and they're already crying, saying, "Oh, he's going to be lenient towards the Indians because his wife is Indian, or he's not going to get dinner at night if he doesn't do that." So, yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Well, so at the RNC, Usha got up and talked about JD and how they met in law school and how open and curious he was about her upbringing and her family, and has even embraced all of the food in her vegetarian diet. And she talked about what a testament that is to who he is. I don't think he's going to only favor Indians, but I do think it's important to have somebody who is open to that and showing it, so much so that he married her. And and they have 3 beautiful children. They've had wonderful careers together. She's, very big in the education sector, and her parents as well. And so I think it'll be a good thing for America. Pardon me. President Trump is married to an immigrant, and I think it's the values of America. Sorry. Give me some water.
That's okay. Go right ahead.
And so, I mean, that is America. We are a melting pot. We are from all over, and to embrace that. Excuse me. I mean, I think it's going to be.
Are you
great
okay? Would you like to get a drink of water?
My husband's getting it for me here. Thank you. I think it's going to be a great thing for America. I know everybody's worried, but they don't have anything to worry about. I think it's going to be great. She had talked about what a testament that was to him and how open he is to everything. And I think it's going to be great.
Cool. Mehul, can you just take over for a little bit? I need to get a drink of water myself.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, I mean, this is something I am aware of being friends of the family, but it's something that I think our audience should know about you, particularly since you are affiliated with the most prestigious university in this country, with Harvard. And at the same time, Harvard is also a university that's gained a bit of notoriety after the attacks in Gaza. It's had its share of controversies with the restrictions on Indians, Chinese, and Koreans joining the university and things like that. But I mean, how do you foresee what will happen in the future? Do you think they will be more receptive because of a change in the administration, or do you think they're going to double down on the policies right now? These will concern Indians because Indians are very passionate about education.
Well, and that's one thing that I think everyone, especially in the Republican Party, is excited about is, J.D. Vance brings the tech industry to the table. And I know a lot of Indians are in the tech industry, and that's a very passionate industry for them. And so having Google, Elon Musk, all of those big names come to the table, Peter Thiel, that I think we're going to see a big shift. And, in the beginning of this, they still wanted to hate Trump. They wanted to keep him out, but bringing in a guy like J.D. Vance who can bring these people to the table where we can at least have the conversation on how do we move forward, whether that's together or just in the same direction, is going to be huge for the country. They've already started changing their talking points. The Harvard and a lot of the Ivy League schools have taken a hit, especially after allowing all of this incredibly dangerous and violent rhetoric against anybody is horrible for these universities. But bringing in all of the tech aspects of J.D. Vance, it's very exciting because, Republicans do want to innovate. We do want to make America great again. And we've really stalled in innovation. And I think a lot of that has to do with this divisive rhetoric between each side and the hate that it has bred in between. And so we're very excited about it. I think they're going to have to get on board, these universities, because President Trump is very innovative. He wants to streamline things. He wants everyone to have equal opportunity. And I think they're going to be forced to come to the table, especially since the tech industry has taken a turn and really supported President Trump, not just with their words, but also financially. That's huge. We're going to see a huge shift in that.
Thank you. The point that you brought up about the tech industry is also something that strikes close home, as you know. And I sincerely hope that the president has something planned for California, because I think the Bay Area needs to hear his words. And we have a very substantial Indian community over there. This is my hope that he
And
will.
we do have it here too in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. New York and Chicago, yes. I do think that it's very important that he speaks to them. I have a lot of friends.
Absolutely.
Satya Nadella and I were at the University of Chicago at the same time in different departments. But he's younger than me, but I rejoined university later. But I sincerely hope that there's some planned outreach, and if there's any thoughts that you have about that, I'd love to hear them, about what the president has in mind for reaching out to the tech community. Or is it going to
Well,
be something that the VP candidate does, that Senator Vance does?
I think it'll start with JD Vance opening up those conversations. That's one thing that the media always gets wrong about President Trump, is that he's closed off and he's a dictator and he doesn't want to talk to anybody, but he's very, very open to conversations and ideas. And, one thing that Ivanka always talks about is how when they go to a job site, he will talk to just the guy over here who's doing his job in the corner and say, well, what do you think we should do? And that's a real testament to how he handles everything. He doesn't just think his ideas are it. He wants to have these conversations, but up until this point, people don't want to they don't want to talk to him because they don't want anything that he does to be successful. Their hate takes over the common sense part of their brain, in my opinion. And so I think we're going to see a lot of these conversations take place. I think it will start with JD Vance bringing them to the table, but I'm just excited that they're going to come to the table and talk, because I think once they do sit down with President Trump and see that he is open to ideas and it's not just his way or the highway, I think he does have a very wise outlook and has a lot to offer. But he does want to have these conversations and he does want to work with all of these groups. But I think now they're finally going to be willing to come to the table and have these conversations so we can move forward and try to work together.
Thank you. I picked Nikita's husband up from the airport today, as you know, and what he told me was that there were as many conversations he heard in India, including from cab drivers and hotel receptionists and others about the elections, as he had heard over here in the United States. So obviously, this is something that Indians are very interested in, and this is a general question I'm going to toss out. I'd request you to tell the Indian community why you think they should vote Republican. You've told us about a lot of the good things that President Trump did in the past, and there's no question we are grateful for his support. But this time, please give us a kind of broad view about why you think Indians should vote Republican in the United States.
Well, our values align a lot more than they do with the Democrat Party. We value family above everything else. And the Democrats have really taken out a war against the nuclear family, having a mother and a father with traditional roles and having, as many children as you want to have. And the Democrats have done the opposite. They try to put, not that I'm anti-woman, I'm very pro-woman. I've worked myself, and I think every woman should do what they feel their calling is in life. And as I am a mother and I work and a wife, we have a very traditional marriage. And, I think the Democrats they've taken a war out on families. And that is something that also we believe equal opportunity. You should be able to live the life that you want, whether that be because your culture, your religion, whatever that is. It shouldn't be dictated by your political parties. But family values are very, very important to the Republican Party, as they are Indian Americans. Education. Republicans are just bad at messaging. So education is a huge, huge thing for us. And it doesn't necessarily always mean Ivy League. It doesn't always mean the exact same thing for every person, but everybody deserves an education and an opportunity to be educated in whatever field they want. and and a merit-based system. So if you earn your way into a college, you should be able to go to that college and work for scholarships or however you can do that. And so education is huge, and the Democrats have really kind of tried to take that narrative away from us. But we think that every child and even adult deserves the education that they want to have in order to achieve their dreams. Entrepreneurship. We are very, very big on entrepreneurship. If you work hard and you have a career that you have dreamed about and you attain that career and become successful, you should be able to keep as much of that money as you can. And so we are, very pro low taxes. President Trump has talked about decreasing income tax again, especially, right now his big message is no taxes on tips, which is huge for those students in college who are, just trying to go to college and make ends meet. And we want you to be able to keep the money that you earn. And the Democrats have really taken the stance that, anybody who earns over a certain amount should give that to somebody else. And we just don't believe that. Of course, you should take care of those that are underprivileged, but that's more of a community-based thing, whether that's your church, your community, you take care of your own is kind of the, it's an overarching thing. Of course, we want everyone to be taken care of, but we don't really think that's the government's role. That's really the community's role to reach out to your neighbor and help them. And so that's a vast difference with us and the Democrat Party. And I, know that's one of y'all's values. Hard work. We truly, truly believe in hard work. And that's something the Democrats have also not really put an emphasis on. They want to give everything for free, but with that comes strings. And that's something that is very anti-American, anti-entrepreneurial. If you work hard, you should be able to live the life that you want to live with no strings attached. And the Democrats are doing away. They don't want people to own their own homes. They want, multi-family homes. And that's, there's apartment buildings going up everywhere. And owning your own home is a really big goal for most people. I mean, that is a sense of security that you can't get from anything else. And so, long story short, I mean, our values just align so much more with the Indian Americans than they do the Democrats.
One final and controversial question from me. The Democratic Party has been promoting a lot of LGBTQIAA plus ideology, and
you
a
can
case
put all the alphabet in there. You can put all the alphabet in there.
And we recently, I helped manage a small Indian parochial school for a few months over here in Houston, and a lot of the parents who put their children there pulled them out of public schools and they sent them there because they were quite blunt that they didn't want the children being indoctrinated with this ideology. And at the same time, we had that case in Oregon, which you would have heard of, where an Indian family, found out by accident. The mother called the daughter, and somebody else said, "Hey, Felix," and the mother was wondering who Felix was. And then it turned out that the girl's teacher was kind of transitioning her, without the parents' knowledge, into transgenderism, and the family just packed up and quietly vanished from the US. They went back to India, dumping everything over. It's being talked about extensively within the Indian community, and this worries both Democrats and Republicans among the Indians. A vast majority of Indians have been Democratic in the past, but I see that changing. Is there an assurance that the Republican Party would give that none of this would happen, at least until people become adults? Once they become adults, it's their choice which way they want to go. Could we get that kind of assurance? Because right now, California passed a bill just last week saying that schools didn't have to inform parents if they were, helping children transgender. I mean, I don't know what the verb is, but they were getting them to, move into the opposite sex. To what they were born in. This worries Indians a lot. So would we get some kind of assurance from the Republican side that, our cultural sentiments would be protected? A lot of Christian groups have the same sentiments. A lot of my Hispanic friends have the same sentiments, but it worries Indians because we're a tiny minority in this country.
Yeah, so the Republicans have passed the Parents' Bill of Rights. So, and the most simple version of that being parents should have, the legal right to their children, at least until they're 18. And really, the frontal cortex of your brain is not developed till you're 25. So really all of these life-changing decisions they're making to their bodies really shouldn't occur until after they're 25. But with our legal age being 18, that's, where the line has been drawn. And the hardest part with that conversation with the Democrats is they don't know where that line should be drawn, or they're not comfortable saying that. In Arkansas, we've passed several things to protect children, and there was one Democrat legislator who really wouldn't give the answer. And finally, after some questioning, she got down to two. Age 2. A 2-year-old doesn't know who or what they are, and they're, if children aren't allowed to buy a pack of cigarettes until they're 18, should they be able to, do we think that they have the forethought to change their gender before they're 18? No. And so children should be protected until they're 18 years old. And, a lot of times the parents are, in some ways they are not, but a lot of times these Democrat parents are complacent in all of this. And really that, in our opinion, is abuse. These children should be given the opportunity to get to 18 and start to make those decisions for themselves. Right now, I think it's a trendy thing for kids to say they're going to transition, and a lot of kids just want to be accepted. And so they fall into these traps, and these teachers are in the schools, allowing them and aiding them in these changes. And that is not a teacher's role. The Republicans are very, very strict on that. Those are the conversations that parents and children have. Teachers should never have a conversation about sexuality, about genitalia, nothing like that to a child, especially without the parent involved or present. So we're passing the Bill of Rights. It passed the House. It's going to go to the Senate next. There's a lot of Republican women that are working very, very hard on protecting children. It's really a protection issue because these teachers, you're a predator, in my opinion, if you are trying to aid a child in changing their sexuality and gender before they even know what that even means. So President Trump has been very vocal about that. While, everyone's free to do as they choose, we shouldn't be changing the laws or putting children in harm's way for less than 1% of the population. And really, it's when it comes down to it, it's a mental disability. If you don't feel connected with your physical body and your head, that is a mental issue, and we're not addressing it in the proper ways. Where the Democrats are, telling them to express themselves, and they're really putting these people out front. And to me, that's a real shame because these people need help. They don't need to be letting their freak flag fly, so to speak. We need to have conversations around mental health rather than just straight to changing their gender, especially in a child. Children do not have the capacity to understand what they're doing. And, 80% of those who transition end up committing suicide. That's a huge number. And the Democrats want to tell everybody that it's because they're bullied and they're not accepted. And when you actually talk to them and when you actually look at the statistics, it's because it's incredibly physically painful to make that transition. If you've never looked into the details of how that goes, I highly suggest it because it is a very painful process that never goes away. And they can't change back, right? So they're stuck in this painful physical and mental situation that no one is talking to them about or trying to resolve up here. They just want to resolve it physically, and that's not doing anyone any justice. And so a lot of them turn to drugs to try to cope. No one's helping them cope, and I think that the conversation needs to be about mental health, not just straight to changing your physical being, because that, if it's not right up here, it's not going to be right anywhere. So the Republicans are very, very big on that. There will be a lot of support for that and trying to get back to some sense of normalcy there and really focus on mental health rather than just the night. So you definitely have us on that. We are definitely in the same way of thinking on the LGBTQIA plus. Plus. We know what a woman is, we know what a man is, and we're going to stick to that.
So thank you. I mean, that's reassurance that I can assure you most Indians would love.
Yeah. It's not about hate; it's really about love. They need love and mental health. Help, yes. Not. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to throw the call open to any questions from anyone that's want to ask Ms. Beaver a question.
Sure. Well, Anand should have the questions, I think.
Right. Others or Ramesh, one of the two.
Oh.
Others?
Yeah, this is Ramesh.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like I am like talk to a lot of Indian Americans who are like let me use the word hardcore Republicans. Like we like on Twitter, so we like we joined like as groups like see. I got a couple of questions from them. So there was like, what's going on? I'm going to read directly from what the Twitter question I got. Okay, so this person is like fights for Republicans. Like, once he comes back from work and then just like, his question is, the biggest roadblock for Indian Americans is that GOP is perceived as a Christian nationalist party and that our Hindu faith is not viewed with respect. What is the GOP is doing to change that perception?
Well, I don't know if you saw on the RNC, but Harmeet led a prayer. And so, I think there has been some of that in the past, but we're really working towards being better about that and being more open. We wholeheartedly believe in freedom of religion, and so I think up until this point, it's just really, we haven't been very good at putting our arms and knowing how to cross that barrier. The Democrats obviously have been way better about that than we have. And I think over, the last decade, we've been called racist and people are afraid to reach across the aisle, mainly because they're just so afraid that they might say the wrong thing or offend the other side. So we mainly just keep to ourselves. And but we are very open to that. We were founded on the United States was founded on Christianity, but we are at our core a melting pot of all different kinds of people, races, backgrounds, cultures. And so this new wave of Republicans is really trying to embrace that and open our arms and understand everybody's religion and culture and try to figure out how, we move forward together. And so while we don't have it down 100%, we are working on it very hard. And we've seen a lot of progress, and we see figures like Harmeet moving up, and now we have Usa, and so we're really working on it. I don't have the greatest answer for that, but we're working on it. And I think the biggest way to move forward on that is to have you join us and to have, you guys in on those conversations and the planning of this and that and different policies. I mean, at the end of the day, the answer is we all just need to come to the table and realize that we do want the same things, that we don't always have to have the exact same path to get there. Like I said, our biggest push right now is equal opportunity, and that looks very, very different than it has in the past. And while we haven't done it very well, we are working on it, and we need more of you to help us move, towards that. So I hope that answers
I haven't
faced
any of those like issues, but especially after what Ann Coulter told Vivek Ramaswamy, so then it kind of like escalated. So there is like a lot of kind of like name calling on like Twitter. So that's one, like when you mentioned like Harmeet and her kind of views towards like Hindus are like different. So like you might know what's like this Khalistani issue. So that's kind of acting as an inhibitor right now in India and US relationship. So with what's like the Biden government are like like deep state is like supporting this Khalistani issue. Like you know what, like this the Pannoon issue, like so that's one also like we need like of course like these are all pinpricks which needs to be taken care of.
Ramesh, I'll quickly interrupt.
Okay.
For at least 10 years at Mar-a-Lago,
Uh-huh.
President Trump has celebrated Diwali for at least
So
10 years, as far as
yes.
I'm aware.
Mhm.
Initially, for many years, Shalabh Kumar's daughter, Manaswini, used to
Mhm.
light the lamp over there. For the
Oh.
last 3 years, it's been a Houstonian who's a common friend of, ours and Nikki's, Nikita Khambe. For
Mhm.
3 years, she has lit the a lamp, the Kutuvilak as we call it in Tamil, at
Ah.
Mar-a-Lago. So
Okay.
this, President Trump's personal affinity with the Hindu community goes back at least 10 years. So way before he
I think it's a
was
lot more.
a president.
It's a
Now,
lot more, maybe.
as far as the rest is concerned, I think it's a question of time. We can expect a much more positive movement going forward. But this is a fact that we need to reveal to the community so they know what the situation is.
Exactly.
It's a lot more.
And it's hard because the media gives us no credit for any of the things that we
Yes.
do, especially President Trump. And so, a lot of these things happen, but it doesn't get any coverage. And so, and which, we do it for the right reasons. So we don't, necessarily push that the media covers those things, but it has hindered us in the past. So like I said, we're trying to do better. And President Trump has definitely never been anti much. So we're working on it, and we look forward to and people like Vivek coming up, and it is changing right before our eyes, and we're very excited about it, and very excited to have you all on our side.
Yeah, Nikki, I'll tell you a story about President Trump. Like it seems in 1976, like in New York, they were doing like it's for us like Lord Jagannath. So they were doing like a procession. So Trump like actually helped them like in the one of his warehouses, so that way they can build this horse carriage. So it's like in 1976. So it's like Trump is always very like so he worked with a lot of like Indo-Americans in his organization. So like he's from like New York. That's that's not like an issue. It's like with other like people. So hopefully, and of course, like with JD's like wife being like a Hindu American. So yeah, exactly that you said. Like the media kind of accentuates these the things, and then they take it like to the extremes.
So what do you foresee as you were talking about Vivek? So what do you foresee as Vivek's role in a Trump government?
Well, I haven't heard a lot yet. The only thing that I have heard is that, somebody's going to have to take over JD Vance's Senate seat. And a lot of people want to see that seat being taken by Vivek. I don't know what Trump has planned for him, but he definitely has embraced him and brought him in, or he was at the RNC, and everybody loves Vivek. So, if he doesn't run for the Senate seat, I definitely think Trump is going to put him in the cabinet. I'm not sure what he's going to put him in charge of if he does put him in the cabinet, but he's definitely going to be a big part of the Trump administration, whether he's in the Senate or in the cabinet.
The people that have joined the call, any questions from all of you, from any one of you?
Okay, so let me ask the last question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so as we know, Biden stepped down, and now Kamala will be the one who will be fighting again. So, Kamala also has a Indian connection, if you know. So, Kamala has an Indian connection. JD Vance too has an Indian connection. So what do you think? Who can entice the Indo-Americans more and why?
So Kamala has really leaned into her Black roots more than anything else. She's really ignored the Indian community. Up until Mayhole told me several years ago that she was Indian as well. I had no idea because all she had ever talked about was her Black roots, and she really pandered to that group. And I think that will do her a huge injustice moving forward. And she will try to pander to the Indian community now, I'm sure, but it's not sincere. And I hope everybody can see and feel that. And on top of that, I mean, she's really done nothing for the Indian community while she's been in. There's been nothing from her on immigration, which is really should have been her wheelhouse and her priority, but she hasn't done it. So she has, she's going to try to pander, but I hope that they see that she's done nothing for the Indian community and that she's really neglected her Indian roots because it didn't serve her at that time. So it's really a testament to who she is as a person. People who know her, she really hasn't gotten where she is on merit for sure. She has not worked for the positions that she is in. She's gotten really lucky, and with this current situation, she's gotten really lucky. But with JD Vance, I mean, his is true, and he's married to Usha, and obviously loves her very much, and has adapted, his lifestyle to hers more so than the other way around. And I think that really shows who he is as a person, and he loves her, and so I don't think it's going to be necessarily something that they pander to or play on in a tremendous way, but it's genuine. And I hope and really think that people can sense genuine, sincere, in even politicians. And Kamala just hasn't been that person. She's not a sincere person in general, but she has really neglected her Indian roots because it didn't serve her at the time. And I think that is a really big testament to who she is as a person, which is not good. So I hope that everyone just can sense her insincereness when it comes to her Indian roots.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley, it was a pleasure. Nikki Beaver. What do I call
Thank you
Nikki
so much for having me. Yes.
Nikki Beaver, it was a pleasure talking to you.
I had a pleasure doing it. Go ahead, sorry.
We're always going to be behind you. We're going to be rooting for you.
Thank you. So, thank you. I'm happy to come back anytime, and I can try to bring some other Republican names if that's of interest to you too.
Yes, Mehul and I were talking about it. Mehul, let's catch up after this.
Certainly, Sridhar. Let's talk. Thank you, Nikki. I mean, I really owe it to you and Tyler. Thank you very much for coming, and hopefully we'll have you talk with our community a little more, because we are a tiny community, as you know, and a lot of our people are extremely worried. I'm sure that you'd be able to, give them information that makes them vote Republican. Simple. It's a one-point agenda that we all have. Every one of us over here has.
Well, I'll come back anytime and try to bring whoever you need answers from. So I appreciate you having me so much, and I was very excited to do this and happy to do it anytime.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikki.